Hey everyone, I know it has been a little while since I have been on. We've had a couple of little hiccups going on around here. You'll see in this video, our air conditioner went out, and if you don't know, we live in Northeast Arkansas and it is very, very hot. So it's loud in here. We've got a couple of window units, but we've got a ton of fans going. So in these clips, you will hear me mention, oh, it's hot in here, or it's going to be loud because I've got the fans going or whatnot. But I am trying, I know I've said this every time I posted another video, but I'm trying to get back into a normal routine. I just recently watched a video, I can't remember who it was, but she sat down and admitted, like, this quarantine is tough. Like, just wrangling your kids all day long and then trying to pick up the camera. And she's like real popular and she has like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and she sat down and said it's hard being a mom and then trying to pick up the camera, which, like I said, she does this regularly. Like, I'm a newbie, I'm a baby at this, but she does this all the time. And she mentioned that it's just hard. It's hard to do it, and it is. It's a lot harder than I ever anticipated it being. Not only do you have to like pick up the camera and try to do all these things while taking care of kids who are getting a little bit of cabin fever, but also you have to find the time to edit and all of that kind of stuff. So anyways, I just wanted to say hi. Hey, I'm back. I've got some plans for future videos. We have a family reunion coming up this next weekend, and I'm hoping to vlog some of that. I am hoping to get some more videos pumped out for you guys. I was in kind of a funk, as I imagine most people have been at one point during this whole quarantine. I've been in kind of a funk for the past couple of weeks, so when I did pick the camera back up, I kind of like realized how much I enjoyed it. Anyways, this video is a what's for dinner. But yeah, just let me know if you guys try any of these, and I hope you enjoy. For dinner tonight, we're gonna do something super simple, super easy. That's kind of the motto when it comes to dinners, especially with the air conditioning being out. So we're just gonna do some chicken, rice, and peas. Literally just as easy as it sounds. I'm not mixing anything together. I'm just gonna bake some chicken. I'm gonna cook the chicken. It's like Aldi version of rice-a-roni. I'm gonna cook it like it says on the box, and then we're just gonna throw the peas on the stove. But I will walk you through how I season my chicken, and I will show you when it's plated. Don't mind the baby shark toy. Alright, so my chicken is out of the oven. I ended up cooking it for 25 minutes instead of just 20 minutes, and it came out perfect. Back here, oops, I got caught on the pan. Back here, I've just got the 3 cans of peas. All I did was rinse them and drain them and add water to the pot, and added some butter. And those are just getting warm. We just need to warm them up. And then this is the 2 boxes of the rice-a-roni, generic rice-a-roni, and I just followed the directions directly on the box. The only thing I changed about this was it calls for 2.5 cups of water per box, and I did 2.5 cups of chicken broth per box. It just gives it more flavor, and that has about 5 more minutes left on it, and we will be ready to eat, and I will show you what it looks like when we're plated. Hey everyone, it's loud, the kids are watching a show, the fans are on, there's cars driving by, but anyways, I'm not sure what night it is, what day, what night, what number meal this is, but I'm going to show you what we're doing for dinner. We're doing a pork chop hash brown casserole. It's just something I found on Pinterest. I will leave a link to the real recipe. We had to tweak a couple of things, but I will leave a link to the original recipe down below. But it calls for 5 bone-in pork chops. These have just been in my freezer for a little bit. We just thawed them out today. 1 tablespoon of oil to brown the hash browns in. 1 cup of sour cream, check that under here. 1 can of cream of chicken. And it did say you could substitute for cream of mushroom. Half a cup of milk. 32 ounces of hash browns. I have this. I think that the recipe is wanting me to use like the little cubes, like the cubed potatoes, but this is what I've got, so this is what we're going to use. Also calls for 1 cup of onion. I've just got this little half onion that we used the other night, and I'm just going to cut the rest of it up and throw it in there. 1 cup of cheese. I'm going to shred this up. And then some salt and pepper. And I will walk you through it. Okay, so I hope y'all can hear me. I'm right by a fan, but we're gonna mix all the ingredients in a bowl and then put it in our baking dish. So it says to put the hash browns last. So I guess we're gonna start with our 1 cup of sour cream. I have like 3/4 of a cup of sour cream, but this is all I've got right now, so. Just gonna use a spatula to make sure we get all of it out. This is all I got right now. Okay, and then it says half cup of milk. I can't find my liquid measuring thing, so I'm using this sippy cup that has like, I don't know if you can even tell, but it's got like these little measurement dashes on it. So this is half cup of milk. And then 1 can of cream of chicken. I feel like almost anything with cream of chicken in it is just so good. Maybe that's just me, but I really enjoy cream of chicken. Try to get all of that out of there. Okay. And then it says 1 cup of onion. This is just that half of an onion that I cut up. And then it says 1 cup of cheese. I have an entire bowl of cheese, so I'm going to do like half of it in the mixture and then the other half on top. I think that sounds a pretty good idea. That'd be good. So I'm just going to mix this all together because like I said, it said do the hash browns last, so this does not look like a very appetizing concoction, but it hopefully will be good in the end. Again, this is super easy. These are all ingredients that I already had. A great way to use up things you have in your kitchen. It doesn't call for a lot of anything, so. Okay. And like I said, I think it wanted me to use like the cube hash browns, but I just got these shredded hash browns. So I'm just gonna use these. Use what you get. I'm just gonna kind of fold this together, I guess. Hopefully it coats all of it. Oh yeah. I've never made, got some chunks in there. I've never made this before, but I love hash browns, I love cheese, I love cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup. My husband loves pork chops, so I figured this would be good. Okay, so now we're going to take this concoction. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to take it and we're going to pour it in. This is ungreased. The recipe says ungreased. So I'm just going to pour it in here. Make sure to scrape down all the sides. And this is a 9 by 13 pan. Okay. It says spread it out evenly. There we go. Fairly even to me. Now I'm going to take the rest of that cheese and we'll sprinkle it on top. The recipe does not call to do this, but I just had all this cheese and I was like, what goes great with cheese? More cheese. It's hot in here, so cheese is trying to stick together. We're going to take our pork chops, and it just says lay the pork chops on top. That's all it says. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Is just lay the pork chops on top. Some of them are more brown than others. I always get nervous trying to brown things because I never want to undercook them, but I never want to overcook them either. Well, we're going to have some overlapping pork chops because the recipe calls for 5 and I have 6. So, that's a little bit better. There we go. Play a little bit of, what's that called? Tetris? Tetris with the pork chops. Alright. Okay, and we are going to put this in the oven uncovered at 375 for 40 to 45 minutes. Okay, so for this pork chop meal, the only thing that we would change about it is the meat. My husband and I agreed that it would taste a lot better with like some ham in it. Instead of the pork chops. The pork chops were not bad, they were good. It just would have been better with ham, maybe even chicken in it. It did taste like something you could eat for breakfast. I don't want to say it tasted like breakfast hash browns, but it could if you like made eggs on the side and did put the ham in it, or even bacon. My husband said it was really good, and like I said, we would just change the meat from pork chops to ham. Hey everyone, so today is Thursday and we are doing a super easy, I call it a sheet pan dinner, but I don't use a sheet pan because I have 2 small ovens instead of like 1 normal size oven. But if you have a normal size oven and a sheet pan, this will be a 1-pan dinner for you. But it's so easy. All you're gonna do is, or all you're gonna need for this is green beans. I have used canned and fresh, and it's great either way. I'm just gonna use 3 cans of green beans, cut up some potatoes. I was always told when you're making potatoes to make enough for how many people you have plus 1 extra. So we have 7 people here, and then I threw in 1 extra. And so we have 8 potatoes, and I'm just gonna dice these up and season them up and then put them on the pan. And then I'm just gonna cut this, I'll cut it in half and then in half again, so in quarters, in small little pieces so the kids don't choke on it. And I'll throw this all in a pan and put it in the oven at about 400. Well, the potatoes will be 400 and the green beans will be about 350. But you'll see. We're just gonna throw it all in the oven for like a half hour or so, and it'll be done. It's so easy. Okay, so I've got my potatoes all washed. I'm gonna throw them in this bowl. Now, if you want to do it on the pan, a lot of people just throw them straight on the pan, do the oil and the seasonings and whatever, that you can totally do that. I'm just weird about when it comes to mixing things. I just want it all in a bowl so that way it's not gonna spill over. But I'm just gonna throw a little bit of olive oil on top. Not a ton because I just washed them so they're already a little bit wet, but I just don't want them to like scorch. Okay, and then after you pour the olive oil in, you're gonna season it up. Now, you can season these however you want to. If you just wanna do salt and pepper, just do salt and pepper. Around here, my husband likes seasonings. I mean, everybody around here, but my husband really likes seasonings. So this is our trifecta: garlic, onion, and Cavender's. I put these three things I put on everything. And then with this, salt and pepper. And I love this kind of rub. We had a different one, but essentially as long as it has brown sugar, y'all already know the brown sugar, me and brown sugar, you know, we got a thing going on. But this rub, it's supposed to be for like pork, beef, chicken, things like that, but I throw it on my potatoes and it's really good. Everybody likes it. So I'm gonna I don't have measurements, I'm just gonna sprinkle to taste how we like it, give it a mix, see if it looks good enough, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to throw these potatoes in one of my ovens at 400. Now, if you're doing this all together, I would do it slower at like 350. Or I mean lower at 350, but since I have two ovens, I'm going to throw these in the oven at 400. Excuse me, I promise I did not have corona. I have terrible allergies. Anyways, I'm going to throw these in the oven, 400 degrees. We'll start out with like 25-30 minutes. Okay, and while that's cooking, I'm just going to take this sausage, cut it up, and rinse it off. And I will drain and rinse off the green beans and get those on another pan and put a little bit of seasoning and butter. So let's get started on that. is going into a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Again, it's just warming everything up because this is all fully cooked. So here we go. Okay, so we have video games going on in the background. The kids are inside playing now, but this is what it looks like out of the oven. I had 2 pans, as you saw before, of the potatoes, and the smaller pan that was on the bottom rack, I forgot to toss them, and the bottom's got a little bit more done than I'd like. That's okay, I'll eat those, and you know, I'll let the kids and my husband eat these, whatever. But they're really good. They've got a little bit of a crisp on them, if you can see. It's probably not gonna focus because it never wants to focus for me. But yeah, I forgot to spray my pans. That is one thing that I forgot to say before, is with the potatoes, spray the pan. With the sausage, it's kind of got its own grease, so it doesn't stick as bad, and the green beans don't stick either, but these potatoes stick, so I would spray the pan. But yeah, it's all done. See, the sausage is nice and crisp up, and the green beans are all nice and cooked, and all that flavor, all the seasonings is just kind of trickled in there. It'd be really good if you put like the sausage mixed in with the green beans, but I don't know, I just don't cook it that way. But yeah, this is what it's gonna look like, and I'm just gonna throw it all on a plate, and this is gonna be dinner for tonight. Hey everyone, it is Wednesday night, and I just wanted to share this dinner recipe that I found on Pinterest. I was looking up summer recipes that are just a little bit lighter on the stomach, and because it's really hot down here in Arkansas in the summers, and my husband works in the heat all the time, so we don't really want to have heavy meals, but we do need things that are filling and that will feed my entire family. So I looked up summer recipes on Pinterest, and this was one of the ones that I found. This is going to be our second time making this, and I'm going to read you the ingredients as they are on Pinterest. I will have a link to it down below, and then as you see when I show you the ingredients and how I make it, I have made a few tweaks just because I didn't have a few things that it called for, and there's a couple things that I just changed about it. But anyways, it calls for 2 cups of chicken, cooked and cubed. These were some chicken tenderloins that I just cooked up on the stovetop, and I'm gonna cut them up. It calls for half a cup of basil, and last time we made this, I just used the dried basil, but I used up the rest of it when I made it the last time, so I'm just gonna put some Italian seasoning in there. It calls for fresh basil, actually, not even the dried kind, but it turned out really good anyway. So I'm just going to throw some of this Italian seasoning in there, but last time I did use the dried basil, and it was really good. But if you have the regular basil, it does call for half a cup. It also calls for 2 teaspoons of garlic. I do just kind of like 2 tablespoons, not 2 tablespoons, but 2 spoonfuls of garlic. That's just kind of my go-to for most things, unless it calls for more or it's a bigger meal. And this says fresh garlic, but I just buy this minced garlic that stays in the fridge. It also calls for half a cup of tomatoes, cherried tomatoes, sliced in half. Now, we didn't have those last time. We had diced tomatoes last time, and my husband said that it would taste even better with like some Rotel, and this is the Aldi brand version of Rotel, just the diced tomatoes and green chilies. He said it wasn't that it was plain, but it could just, like, the little bit of a kick that the Rotel has to it would be super good in it. So, and my kids usually pick the tomatoes out anyway, so it's not going to be too big of a deal. And it won't make it super spicy or anything, just give it a little extra flavor. So this time we're going with the Rotel, and it calls for half a cup of the tomatoes, but I'm just going to throw this whole can in there. And the last time I threw the whole can of just regular diced tomatoes in there, and it worked out great. It also calls for 1 small zucchini chopped. Now this is, I think, 2 small-ish zucchini, but I had chopped them up and put them in our freezer, and so they're a little bit bigger and there's a little bit more, but we really liked the zucchini in it last time, so this is going to be great for us. Again, just do it how you like it. If you don't like zucchini, omit it. If you have squash or whatever, you know, add that in. This is a super versatile recipe, I feel. It also calls for 3.5 cups of chicken broth. Now, In here there are about 4 cups of chicken broth, but it also calls for 12 ounces of pasta. And so I just used this whole thing of pasta, which is 1 pound, 16 ounces, and I used the whole box of chicken broth. Again, it just stretches for my family, and it worked out great last time for us. It does call for penne pasta, and I didn't have penne this time. We did make it with penne last time, and it was really good, but this time I have the rotini. I'm sure any short pasta will do. It also calls for some salt. Just got my little sea salt grinder here. I actually got this from the Dollar Tree. This is our second one, and we really like it. It also calls for 8 ounces or 2 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese. So I'm going to shred this up, and I will show you where we go from there. Okay, so I'm sorry if you can hear our fans. Our air is out right now, and it's really hot in here in the kitchen. We've got a couple of window units going right now, but it's going to be a little bit noisy. My kids are outside playing in the pool with my brother, so I've got a few minutes. It's going to be semi-quiet. So I'm going to assemble this. Here I have my 9x13 pan, and I've just got some of this olive oil spray, and I'm just going to spray down the pan just so the pasta and stuff doesn't stick. I do a lot. You know, I've seen some people who just do a little bit. I just want to make sure that nothing sticks because it makes for easier cleanup. Now, the recipe says that you can either mix everything in a bowl and then transfer it, or if you want to do one less dish, you can mix it all in the pan. I just prefer to mix it all in the bowl. It's just easier for me. Okay, so to my chicken, I'm going to add the Rotel. It is drained, but I left all the, I just left it in the pan and drained the juices out of it. So I'm going to add that straight to the bowl. I'm also going to add our zucchini straight to the bowl. I'm also going to add the corn, and this is drained as well. And then next I'm going to add the uncooked pasta. I've always been really weird about baking uncooked pasta, but with the whole box of chicken broth, it cooks perfectly. So the whole box of pasta right into the bowl. Now we're going to add the entire box of chicken broth. You can make your own at home. I like to do that in the winter time. Whole chickens are so cheap. You can use up all that chicken and then use the bones for broth, or even just cook the whole chicken in like a soup and use that broth, or use the leftovers to make a broth. Next, this is where you would add some of the basil, but again, I'm doing the Italian seasoning, so I'm just going to pour some in here to my heart's desire. Let's go with that much. Next, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of my grated mozzarella cheese. I got some on the top here. And it's really cool. My mom bought me this cheese grater, and it's got this little compartment in the bottom, and it just holds all your cheese. Sometimes you gotta tap a little bit of extra out from the inside, but so you're gonna use about like 2/3 of what you have shredded in here. Or I'll do about maybe half. I think that'll be good because you want to be able to put the rest on top. Then you're going to add your garlic. Again, as I said before, I just do kind of like 2 spoonfuls. This calls for like 2 teaspoons, but we like garlic, and so I just do 2 spoonfuls. Maybe a little bit more. And then you're going to add your salt. And let's see. I don't remember how much salt this calls for, but I'm just going to do it until my heart's content. Okay, that should be good. Okay, now I've got my wooden spoon here, and we're going to just kind of fold this all into itself. You want to make sure it's really well combined, and so that way the pasta can soak up all of that broth. Let me see if I can move you a little closer. You see how much liquid is in there? I don't know if you can see. Yeah, we just want to get that completely incorporated. It's essentially a dump and go recipe. If you have the chicken already cooked in your fridge or freezer, I'm sure you could even use canned chicken. I know that it's hard to find protein in the stores right now, or if you can find it, it's like so expensive. Like the prices have been skyrocketed, but I'm sure you could use canned chicken, or like I said, if you already have it prepped in your fridge or freezer. And also, if you already have like the vegetables already cut up, or fresh tomatoes from your garden, or you can use frozen corn instead of canned corn. You know, like I said in the beginning, this is a super versatile recipe, I feel. But this is just kind of our little spin on it. So you just want to make sure that that's completely incorporated. And then, this is the scary part for me because I always feel like it's going to splash everywhere. But let me move my scissors out of the way. I'm just going to pour this all in there. And it looks so weird, but I promise it tastes so good. I did not have super high expectations for this because, to be honest, when I try new recipes, half the time it just doesn't work out. More like 2/3 of the time it just doesn't work out. But this one turned out so good. I'm just trying to get all of that goodness out of there. All right. When I set this bowl aside, we're just gonna spread it all out. Make sure that it's fairly even in here. And it's so pretty and colorful for the summer. We really enjoy this dish. Okay, now I'm gonna get some aluminum foil. Excuse my messy drawer here. Get you some aluminum foil, and you are going to cover this tightly. You almost want the chicken broth to steam the noodles, the pasta. Okay. If you feel like using more than one piece of foil, go right ahead. This is heavy duty foil, just from Aldi, so I think it'll be okay. It worked fine with just one last time. And then I'm going to stick this in the oven, 425 for 40 minutes. Okay, so my kids are inside playing in the playroom now. We got more fans going right now because the oven had to be on for this. Anyway, it's a little loud in here, but this is what it's going to look like after 40 minutes in the oven. At this point, I give it a mix because if you can see, some of the pasta just doesn't look done to me. Like, it looks very different than the pasta underneath. So I just give it a mix, and then I'll put it back in the oven. There's still plenty of liquid in there. I put it back in the oven for about 5 to 10 more minutes, just to kind of let the this top pasta cook down a little bit more. And then we will take it out and put the cheese on top and just throw it back in the oven for 5 to 10 more minutes, let that cheese melt, and it will be ready to serve. But I'm gonna finish mixing this, and I've already tasted the zucchini and the chicken, and well, the chicken was already cooked, but the zucchini is perfectly soft. And like I said, the pasta underneath is really well cooked. It's just that top pasta that's still a little bit stiff. So I'm gonna finish mixing this up, pop it back in the oven, and I will show you when I top it with the cheese and a little bit more Italian seasoning. Okay, so it has been in the oven for 5 more minutes. And I'm gonna take this foil off, and we are done with the foil. And now you can see that the pasta has absorbed most of the liquid. There's still some, I don't know if you can see. There's still some liquid in there. But I'm just gonna kind of move it around just a little bit to get some, break it up. And then we're gonna take the rest of that cheese that we had shredded up and some Italian seasoning and sprinkle it on top, pop it back in the oven for 5 more minutes just to get the cheese melty on top, and it'll be ready to eat. Okay, so for the summer pasta bake recipe, there are 3 things that we would have changed. Now this was the second time we had made it when I recorded it for you guys. The first time we made it, we used penne pasta like it says in the recipe, and we do think that the penne pasta worked better. Penne pasta is a little bit thicker than the rotini pasta, and so when we had to cook it longer after stirring it to make sure the top layer of pasta got cooked, We feel like the penne pasta held up better and didn't get overdone as the rotini pasta did. After we put it back in, the stuff that was on the bottom got a little bit more overdone than the stuff on the top. So we just recommend using a penne or something like a little bit thicker of a pasta noodle than the rotini. As far as the tomatoes, the Rotel made a difference. It was spicy. Even my husband said it was a little too spicy. Not for him, he likes a lot of spice, but it was just for the overall dish, it was a little bit too spicy for the dish itself. If you like spice, leave it in there. We like the regular diced tomatoes better in general. So if you want just like a little bit of a kick, maybe go for like mild Rotel, or if you don't want any spice at all, just go with the basic diced tomatoes, or the half cherry tomatoes like the recipe originally calls for. And then third, the basil. We agreed that the basil itself, or the basil alone, made a difference. Now when we first made it, we did not have fresh basil, but we did have the dried basil, and it tasted way better with just the dried basil than it did the second time with the Italian seasoning. It turned out fine. We still enjoyed it, but just to make it better, we would go with regular tomatoes, penne pasta or a thicker pasta, and go back to just the basil instead of the Italian seasoning. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you guys try any of these meals, please let me know if you like them, what you guys would change about them. Leave me some comments below about what you guys eat for dinner. What are some easy, simple meals that feed a big family, or something that I could double to feed my big family, or just anything like that. Also, let me know what you guys are wanting to see from our channel. I'm hoping and trying to be more active on here and on Instagram, so give me a follow over there. Everything will be linked below. Recipes, my Instagram, I think my Pinterest ideas should be listed down below. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, that bell notification, so you're notified every single time I post a video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.